it becomes an exhaustive process
Yeah.
that's not very efficient, not very effective.
Yeah, you just I wouldn't even say chasing your tail, because chasing your tail would be more of a focused approach. You're just flailing wildly. Right?
I'm focusing on my tail here.
So, hello and welcome to Boat Talk, where we talk about all the ings of boats. And this week, troubleshooting.
That's a big one.
We are your hosts. Between us, we have more than 20 years working here at Seaboard Marine with Tony Athens. With me is Corey Schmidt, the VP of Operations. I'm Justin Riggi, the VP of Manufacturing. These days, we just get too many calls and emails and everything. We can't keep up with it all. It's just too much. So
it's too much.
We started this podcast to try to answer questions for all to hear. So if you'd like to be a guest, we haven't had too many guests. It's been a few episodes. We've kind of just been answering emails and stuff. A little easier to deal with technically and stuff. But if you'd like to be a caller, or if you'd like us to cover one of your topics, email us at boattalk@sbmar.com.
Mm-hmm. Send in those emails.
And if you have an idea, if you'd like a free shirt, send in a suggestion for, a free shirt. I know.
I'm going to send in a suggestion. I want a free shirt.
If you have an idea for Between Two Sterns, our joke segment or humorous story segment, send it in and you get a free t-shirt. And remember, subscribe, because we don't monetize our videos for the first 24 hours, so you can watch even with less commercials, although I think YouTube still shows some commercials.
No matter what, you're going to get a few commercials. It's just the nature of the beast.
And last thing, before we get into this episode, if you need help, don't start typing up a novel or novella on your computer, right? A long-winded email to Tony, Corey, or me. Try searching the forums. Maybe post your thing in the forum. If you really can't find the solution, we have our YouTube channel. We have our Cummins Marine Group Facebook group. We have sbmark.com/community, our forum. All these great resources. We put a lot of information out there, all of Tony's tips. Tony's still pumping ideas. Didn't he sent one?
He sent one this morning, yeah.
And one yesterday, too.
Yeah, he's on fire, that
Tony's
guy.
He's still on fire, putting stuff on Tony's tips. So go to Google, type in SBMAR, and then whatever you're looking for in a Google search, it'll search all of our website. And that's the best way to search. And try to find your answer first. And then if you really can't find help, we're here.
And on the flip side of the novel thing, please don't send a whole novel, because, every day we show up to work, there's 50 emails. But on the flip side, don't also send those one-liner emails like, "Hey, my engine's smoking, I need help."
Right.
And I'm like, huh? what am I gonna do with that?
Yeah.
So
okay. So let's get into this week's show. So we're gonna do how we got to now.
Okay.
Justin, how did I wind
Where'd
up
you
here?
come from, anyways? You just showed up out of nowhere.
Yeah. So it's kind of a long story. My career is wild. I grew up in a construction family. Obviously started working on the job sites when I was like 17 years old. I had a little woodworking side business, and then my mom was like, "You got to start paying rent or go back to college." I was like, "I'll go back to college."
Solid, Mom.
Sounds like a good idea.
Good job, Mom.
Yeah. So I went back to school. Got my associate's degree. Actually, I studied music a little bit. I studied a lot of manufacturing, where I learned how to do machining and all that stuff.
TV, VCR repair.
Yeah, with Sally Struthers. And then I went to Cal State Channel Islands, got my degree in business, or minor in business. My primary degree is liberal studies, also with a little education sprinkled in there. And I went to work in the construction management side of things, which I really liked. Being a project manager was a very gratifying job. Worked for my dad. Got to a point where he kept saying he was going to retire, and
he's still working. He's still doing it.
And we went through the whole economic crash, 2007, 8, whatever. And we got into doing solar. And I got all my solar certifications and a bunch of training in solar energy. And then some outfit out of North Carolina called me up. They're called Everblue, and wanted me to do some teaching. And I had already had some interest in teaching. So I traveled around and taught this 40-hour certification course for solar. And I really liked it. So then I went to our local school district and signed up to be a substitute. And within 2 weeks, I was in a classroom and I had a wood shop and metal shop. And it all happened really fast. It's completely changed careers in 2 weeks. Yeah. Huge pay cut too. Teachers don't make a lot of money.
They don't.
Which is why it wasn't so hard for Corey to lure me away from teaching.
Yeah.
While I was a teacher, I studied more manufacturing. I got some certs in CNC machining and learned how to use 3D printers, laser engravers and cutters and all that high-tech manufacturing, because that's what I taught in school. And your tax dollars sent me to some professional development, we call it. So I got some free training while I was a teacher, which was nice. I did that for 5 years. And then Corey was like, you should come work a Seaboard. Yeah. Everything that you're doing in your classroom would be good here. And, I've known Tony for, I don't even know, since I was 17. I'm
long time,
30 years. So anyway, Corey lured me here. I started here. I went through the boot camp just like Corey did with Frank.
You had to rough him up a little bit.
That's where I started making videos. Actually, I started making videos as a teacher, which is why I knew how to edit and stuff, because I made videos for my students. So if you feel like there's a little educational component to my videos, that's where it came from, because I was a teacher. And so I just thought, this is cool. What Frank does is amazing. On our next episode, we're going to have Frank in as a guest.
We're bringing him in, right?
We're
bringing in the Frank.
And so I thought we should put this out there. Plus, Tony liked putting stuff out there anyway. Tony's tips. I thought, well, let's just take this to YouTube. And so the YouTube channel was born and has grown. And now we have over 12,000 subscribers, and we get quite a few views and a lot of interest. So, we're not trying to be YouTube stars or anything. We're just trying to put information out there.
Marine influencers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's marine-based.
Marine influencers?
Marine influencers. Yeah. It rolls off the tongue nice.
Yeah. No, we're not trying to do that. We're just, it's not about being monetized or anything like that. We don't make any money from the channel. It's just for putting information out there, try to help us have a broader reach, because we can only answer so many calls and stuff. So that's what it's all about. And Tony always said, the more you give, the more you get, which is why he's put so much information out there over the last almost 40 years.
Why we're still doing it today.
Right. So that's how we got to now. Justin Riggy.
Yeah, let's go. Nice.
Thanks for bringing me on board, Corey.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
It's been good. It's been good. I'm glad it was a good move. Okay, so
down to business.
So this episode, we're going to talk. This is a huge topic, troubleshooting, and there's no way we're going to cover.
You can't
everything with troubleshooting, but
it's not possible.
We're going to kind of start at some high level, and we're going to just kind of hit some random, very specific things that come up a lot, stuff like that.
Yeah, and the process of troubleshooting is what's important here, because if you own a boat, I guarantee you at some point in the lineage of your ownership of that boat, you're going to be doing some troubleshooting.
Yep.
It's absolutely going to happen.
Yep.
So the better equipped you are at troubleshooting, the less frustrated you're going to get, and the better the outcome will be.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that? You would agree with that.
I would.
Yes.
And one of the things we do here, and I think what Tony is kind of famous for, is being able to troubleshoot from afar. But
remote troubleshooting.
Yeah, we do.
Oh, it's an art. It's an art.
It's a lot of what we do.
It is.
And it's kind of difficult. Sometimes it gives you a little bit of a headache, but we're going to tell you guys how to help us help you, right?
I would love that.
Yeah, because
absolutely.
There's a few things that you can do that'll help us be able to, help you troubleshoot. And we'll dig into that later, but yes. So the first thing I want to talk about, I'm going to make it a little note. Make sure we cover that later. Okay. I'm very organized. So
where do we start?
Starting with a clean slate. I'm glad you asked that. That's the first thing I have. Where do we start? Starting with a clean slate. So if you come upon a boat, somebody leaves it in your yard and you get stuck with it, or you actually are crazy enough to buy one,
right? And
you have a boat, it's really important that you start with a clean slate. And by that, I mean, what do? What are the simple things? Change the filters, clean the aftercoolers if you have aftercoolers, new belts, basically go through the engine and start with a sort of a steady state, high functioning engine to begin with.
Yeah.
I'm saying we don't have the boat doesn't smoke and it doesn't make RPM and it's covered in rust, and the aftercooler. When was the aftercooler last serviced? What's an aftercooler? That's the classic one. But the aftercooler's never been served. If you have all these unknowns, how are you ever going to troubleshoot anything?
Yeah, there's no way you can buy a boat. And we talk to guys that buy boats all the time. When you buy this boat, the best practice approach is going to be, like you said, wipe the slate clean. because you don't know what the history of the boat is, and you may even talk to the owner, and the owner says, "Oh yeah, I'm really up on my maintenance and this," and it's like,
Sure.
well, you could take that with a grain of salt because you really don't know, right? Quantitatively, you have no idea. So starting with a clean slate is super duper important. Like you said, replace the belt, all the maintenance items, go for it. Put a new air cleaner on there, right? Service the seawater cooling side of the engine.
Right.
Get the engine set to a baseline that you know where you're at.
Make sure it makes rated RPM. That's a big one.
And how do we do that?
You go out with a good long sea trial, you hammer down, and you look up, you go to our website where we provide all this free information.
That's right.
And you look up your engine, and you get the power, I think it's called the performance curve on our website. It's
called a performance curve.
Print that sucker out and go out there with a Sharpie and a piece of paper and write down your RPM.
And your fuel consumption,
your fuel consumption, if you have it.
Yeah, if it's an electronic engine, that's a valuable metric to have. If it's not an electronic engine,
basically just going to look at wide open.
Right. And the big fallacy that we see all the time is, Cummins rates their engines at a certain RPM rating. So let's say you have a 370 Diamond. Okay, 355 brake horsepower at 3,000 RPM. And a lot of guys will go, "Hey, I made 3,000. Let's go. We're good." You're like, no, you're not good. You got to reach the governor rating,
which is like 30-70, right? 70 to 80.
No, it could be 125 over the target. So instead of 3,000, you want to hit 3125. If you can hit 3125 at full rated, full loaded boat, then you're in good shape, and that's how you tell.
Yeah, and the only caveat, we talked in episode 1 or 2 about trawlers and lobster, slow going boats. Some of them overprop a little bit, so you may not quite get there, but you still want to make sure that you've thought about this before you go running the boat for months, and then now something's happened and you're trying to troubleshoot. So you want a log. What does the boat do once with clean aftercooler, with the bottom all scraped, right? Mm-hmm. With the propeller nice and tuned, and everything's right? Everything's been gone through, everything's dialed. You need a log and start with that clean state and that, what do you call it?
Baseline.
Benchmark, baseline.
That's your baseline.
Exactly.
Right, so that's where you start. You know the boat performed this way after you did all the things you needed to do properly, and that's your baseline, because the boat's going to change, right? Boats do not get lighter. They get heavier.
Right. They get dirtier. Things wear.
Exactly. So the performance of the engine and the overall performance of the vessel is going to change over time.
Right.
And you're going to monitor that. Is it my engine getting tired, or am I just adding weight to the boat?
Right.
Right.
And hopefully if you get that benchmark established and you've gone through everything, then when something goes wrong, it's going to be a lot easier to pinpoint, because now it's like, okay, everything was dialed and then this happened. And if you call us with that question, it's a lot different than, well, I just bought this boat and it was running fine seemed like it was running fine for a week, but now all of a sudden I went out to go fishing and I don't know, I had smoke or whatever. I was like, well, did you do the aftercooler? No. Have you changed the impeller? No. I don't know. All these I don't knows.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Well, we can't do much with a bunch of I don't knows.
100%.
Okay. So, the next thing I have on here is start with the simple stuff. So one of the things I always like to tell people on the phone is injectors aren't spark plugs. So people often jump to the conclusion that there's some major internal thing wrong with their engine, right? Like, oh, I need new injectors. Well, guess what? Injectors, the cheap injectors are $300 a piece, a couple grand for a set of injectors.
Easily.
The expensive injectors are $700 or $800 a piece.
More.
And I don't know about any of you guys that drive diesel trucks, but if you drive a diesel truck, you might have 150, 200, 250,000 miles on it. And guess what? Still the original injectors.
That's right.
They can last the life of the engine. That's not the first place we look. We don't just go, that's why I say injectors aren't spark plugs. In the old days, an old 57 Chevy starts running a little rough. You go, oh, let's
pull the plug, take a look at it. You're like, we need new plugs.
And why would you do that? Because that's one of the simple things on an old carbureted spark plug engine. That's one of the simple things. Oh, just make sure there's the new plugs, right?
Right.
That's not one of the simple things on a diesel. On a diesel, the injectors are they're robust. As long if you don't have a reason to think that they've been compromised, you don't just change them, right? Wouldn't you say?
100%. I can't tell you how many guys do that. The whole crux about troubleshooting too is it's very easy to throw parts and money at problems to try to flush out the culprit, right? That's what we're looking for. What's the root cause of either the engine not performing, or I'm getting smoke, or something's happening that's you don't want to happen to the engine. And it's easy just to throw money and parts out. I put a new turbo and I put a new cylinder head and all this other stuff on there. It's like, well, if you don't go through the methodical process of trying to flush out what the exact root cause and culprit is, not only is it very expensive, but you end up, what I always say, chasing your tail.
Right.
Right. And it's a laborious, expensive process. And if you don't apply somewhat of a scientific method to your troubleshooting,
have that down here later.
Yeah. Oh, there you
read
go.
my mind.
Then it becomes an exhaustive process that's not very efficient, not very effective.
Yeah, you just I wouldn't even say chasing your tail, because chasing your tail would be more of a focused approach. You're just flailing wildly. Right?
I'm focusing on my tail here.
So, the engines themselves, these Cummins engines, and most diesel engines, if you're not in the Cummins world, this isn't only for Cummins people, but the engines are pretty robust. It's pretty rare for major internal components, even things like turbos, injection pumps, injectors, they don't fail a lot. That's what, the 12-valve Cummins particularly is famous for being able to go 500,000 miles in a Dodge truck.
It's amazing how much abuse these engines can take and do take
out
there and still rock.
Right. So you're not looking like, you don't think, oh man, it's not seems like it's not running right. Let me throw a new turbo and some new injectors on there.
Yeah.
That's not the right. We see that happen a lot. That's not a good troubleshooting approach. So where are we going to start? So this first thing, simplest thing, fuel filtration. Why don't you talk about fuel filtration?
Fuel filtration is important.
Yeah.
Right. We want clean, good fuel to go into the engine, especially on a Quantum series electronic engine. Right. The difference is pretty major as to what the engine can tolerate.
Right.
If you get bad fuel, if you get water in the fuel, it's a big deal. So fuel filtration is paramount to make sure that we're not introducing anything that shouldn't be in the engine to the engine.
Right. Including air. And that's a lot of sudden power loss or problems with an engine not running right is either clogged up tank pickup, a leaky leaky fuel hose or fitting,
right, or
clogged up filters or water in the fuel. The fuel system is so critical to a diesel, and it sounds so simple. And a few people people don't even want to hear it. They're like, "Well, have you checked? Oh yeah, no, the fuel, that's fine. It's fine." They just like assume it's fine, because you got a hose going to a filter, going to the tank, and it seems simple enough. But if you really could actually look at all that, like with a microscope, you could see the hose is old and cracked, or the tank is 20 years old, and who knows what kind of growth and gunk is in there.
There could be a level of sludge at the bottom. And how many times have we seen that?
Oh, man.
The nastiest, craziest stuff living in the bottom of your tank. And when the boat's just sitting there at a steady state, it's just sitting there hanging out, no big deal.
Yeah.
And then you go out in the ocean and you're roughing and toughing and going all over the place. That stuff's getting thrown around into the tank. And if you don't have a good filtration system, that stuff's going in the engine.
Right.
Little by little, it gets broken up, and you start feeding your engine that garbage.
Absolutely. So yeah, and then there's some other little things in the fuel system. The mechanical engines, the fuel return line is actually supposed to be submerged. And if you think about it, if you have no leaks and both return and supply are submerged, that thing just through siphon pressure, atmospheric pressure, should stay full all the time. Now, if you don't have a submerged return line, it generally works okay, but if it's relying on a check valve to keep the system full. Right. And so there's a couple of check valves. There's some on the lift pump, on the priming pump has a check valve, on the Bosch injection pump. Some Raycors actually have a check valve built in, which can help. You don't need to have a check valve on your filtration system, but it can be a Band-Aid, or it can help if there's a problem with the internal parts of the injection pump. Because when that stuff ages, we see a lot of old mechanical engines start to lose prime slowly over time. They're like, if it sits if it sits all winter, then it loses prime. They prime it. Then it's like, if I let it sit for a few weeks, and then it's like, now every time I shut it off, I have to reprime it.
Right.
That means something's going on with your check valve, or your return, or you just have air getting
or you have air getting into the system somewhere, and,
Right.
and you know, a fuel system it could be pretty well proliferated through the boat. You know, I mean, you could have multiple tanks, you could have balance lines, and a lot of different connection points. You can start getting a little bit of air in the system, and it can really be a nagging issue and very difficult to flush out. Right.
But it's also, I mean, fuel hose and a few fittings, a couple filters. That's cheap stuff. That's where I would say start. Don't start with injectors and turbos. Start with some fuel hose and filters and some fresh rector seal or whatever you're going to put on your threads. Seal it. Make sure all that's sealed up. Make sure your tank pickup is clean. One thing too, Brendan always says is it takes a lot of discipline, but on your way back in is when you want to fill up. And if you fill your boat up on your way back in, it keeps it pushes out all the air, displaces all the air, and keeps condensation from building up in your tank.
Yeah.
So that's a really, you get a long day of fishing. The last thing you want to do is go to the fuel dock. But especially if you're in a humid environment, it's not a bad practice.
So one of the takeaways from this that's super important is, hey, let's start with the cheap stuff first. Let's start with the low hanging fruit first. Right. Let's not, like you said, let's not buy a turbo and, I got white smoke. I need new injectors. I need a new turbo. No, let's eliminate the cheap and easy stuff. And by the way, the key word here is eliminate, right? Process of elimination.
Yeah.
I'm sure you probably have that down there too.
Yep.
That's a huge, huge phrase. Process of elimination.
Better put the
You better add it. Right? Because what we're doing is, in so many cases when you're troubleshooting, there's multiple variables. It's not just one thing. You got subsystems and different parts that you need to look at.
Yep.
You have to be methodical. You have to start at your starting point. And like I said, let's eliminate low-hanging fruit. Okay.
Look at what I have written right here. Isolate the variable.
Process of elimination. You wrote it down. Okay. But it's very important because it really does take a methodical process.
Yeah.
If you're going to, like this, very methodical.
Right.
Okay. Write all your stuff down on a piece of paper and say, okay, yes, I did that. I checked that. Boom. Now you're not going around in circles because you've eliminated items as potential root cause or culprits.
Right.
Super important.
And by the way, I would say probably 9 times out of 10, your loss of power or sputtering or engine, whatever, not running right, whatever it is, 9 times out of 10, it's one of about 5 to 10 possible things, maybe less than 10, usually
less than
about
10.
a half a dozen possible things.
Yeah.
So out of those half a dozen things, 3 or 4 of them are pretty cheap to eliminate, like fuel, right?
Mm-hmm.
New filters, maybe even redo the lines if you need to, take the fittings off, check your tank, make sure your tank is clean. All that stuff, do all that easy stuff. And now you've just taken that list from 6 things. You've checked off 3 or 4 of the easy things. And now you're getting to the expensive things. And now it's a lot more, it might be easier to define exactly which one of those expensive things it is.
Yeah, 100%. One of the kind of models I always use when I'm talking to guys on the phone is, hey, we need to figure out, if we're going to walk down the road of troubleshooting, which path do we take first? There could be just a simple fork in the road where you're going this way or you're going this way based on a few things. Right. You want to eliminate all the potential avenues because we want to go down the right road.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you think about my engine's pumping black smoke, the automatic thing is, we have an air issue.
Right.
Okay. So now I'm thinking about air. I'm not thinking about fuel. I'm not thinking about anything else.
Because where would the smoke come from if you didn't have fuel, right?
Right. So it's really important when you embark on the process of troubleshooting that you just define the appropriate pathway to where you want to end up.
Yeah.
Right. Before you do anything else, because that eliminates half of the potential things there.
Right. So, getting back to our look at the easy stuff, I have fuel filtration, aftercooler maintenance. That's a huge one. I can't tell you how many people have probably bought a new turbo just because they didn't realize.
And end up finding a sock in their aftercooler.
Right.
We've seen it.
Or impeller bits or who knows what, or leaks or gunk. So aftercooler maintenance, that's cheap. I don't know what our kits are, like $50, $60 for a little aftercooler kit. I mean, it's a couple O-rings and some grease and a little bit of and some elbow grease. So fuel filtration, aftercooler, if you have an aftercooler on your boat, your seawater pump maintenance, and I would say your whole seawater circuit, right?
100%.
What else can you think of as quick?
Well, I was going to say all of these things depend on, again, here's how we develop the pathway. It depends on the condition, right? The condition is my engine's overheating. Okay, now we're going to go down pathways.
Right.
And again, engine components are going to be dependent on what
the symptom is.
The symptom is, right? So my engine used to run at 185. Now it's up at 195, and I'm getting concerned.
Right.
Okay, well, the first thing is let's develop the right pathway. The pathway is we need to understand why the engine isn't rejecting that heat.
Right.
Is it not getting enough seawater flow?
Right.
So where do you look first? You look at the seawater pump. Like you said, that's the first component you want to look at. Is the impeller all chewed up?
Right.
Right? Is it about ready to let itself go?
Right.
Right? And then you start going down the chain. Right? Okay, we're going to check the gear oil cooler. It is, blah, blah, blah. So when we talk about all these different things, it really is dependent on the condition or the symptom that you're chasing after.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely. So next I had isolate the variable and process of elimination, which we might have already talked about. I put the scientific method. So you can't change 3 or 4 things and then and then learn anything about what the root cause was, right? So, but then again, if you change 3 things and it fixed your problem, you might be perfectly happy. So, and it's one less trip out to test it.
But you may not know exactly which one of those 3 things caused your symptom.
That's the thing. And then, so next time it happens, you're like, well, I guess I'll change those 3 things again.
Well, I think best practice would say, instead of going around changing 3 things, the best practice or way to implement your troubleshooting process is to hold things at control.
Right.
All right. And keep them fixed.
Right.
And then change one thing.
Right.
And then monitor.
Right.
Did that fix it?
Right.
No. Okay. I get that one out of there.
Right.
Okay. Now hold that at control and that one at control. And now I'm going to change this thing.
Right.
And then you go down that line. That way, again, you're not doing things you've already done, right? And
you're not flailing.
Yeah. Flailing. Yeah. Wacky flailing.
Wacky waving, flailing, inflatable arm tube guy.
Yeah, we don't want to be that guy.
Okay. So you need to start with simple stuff: fuel supply, water flow. A big one I threw in here just kind of randomly: throttle linkage. Can't tell you how many times guys are like, "Oh, all of a sudden I just had one guy the other day."
So what's the symptom or condition that is going to?
What was that guy mad at us? He was convinced that we sold him some. What did he think we sold him that was bad? Was it No, it wasn't injectors. Gosh, what was it? I don't know.
I don't remember.
He was just so convinced that whatever part we sold him, I don't even remember what it was obviously bad, right?
Yeah, he was very upset.
And he was like mad. And I said, well, first of all, you need to make sure that the throttle link, he's like, oh, yep, that's what it was.
So the symptom of a throttle linkage issue on a mechanical engine would be you're not getting full RPM.
Right.
Right. And so you say, oh, my engine's not happy. Oh, why? There must be some sort of internal condition or something on the engine. This could cost me tens of thousands of dollars. And the first thing again, what's the low hanging fruit? Right? You're going to make a list of things to check.
Yeah.
That's a low hanging fruit. Is the throttle lever on the injection pump going to full rack?
Right. So you need to take off the cable, move the throttle, and kind of do something to mark where it moves at full throttle.
Yeah.
Then put the cable back on and see if it goes to that same spot.
How many times have we seen that?
That costs you nothing.
We've seen it a million times.
People have replaced tens of thousands.
Guys will call up. It's like, I just spent $6,000. God, it was like, well, I hope it's nice and shiny.
Yeah.
But he's like, oh, you know what? Something happened with my throttle linkage, my cable, this or that, and it wasn't going all the way. And then you just feel so silly.
Right.
Yeah. And you have to go back to the wife and tell her you spent $6,000 or something trying to fix an issue that you didn't even need to do.
Right. All you needed was a new cable maybe, or not even that, just to retighten the bolt.
Yeah. Incredible.
Fuel shutoff solenoid. That's another kind of common one.
Same thing. It applies to the same. When you have and this is one of our flagship troubleshooting articles, which is low power troubleshooting, right? You're not able to get full RPM. You used to, but you can't now. Okay, on a mechanical engine, there's a fuel lever that comes up and down, right? And you cannot get fuel into the injection pump unless this lever's all the way up. Now, it doesn't have to be all the way up.
It could
be halfway up if you want to go half as fast.
Right.
Okay, but if you have an old rusty solenoid that's not, it's like a geriatric solenoid. It's lost its luster for life and can't get it all the way up.
Yeah.
Then you're not going to get enough fuel into the injection pump, and you're not going to make rated speed.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, how do you test that? Take the solenoid off of the lever.
Yeah.
This is what Tony always says. Put a zip tie on there and zip it all the way up. Go out for a run.
Yeah.
If you can make full RPM after that, you fixed your issue. Move on. Get a new solenoid. Let's go.
Or get a bunch of zip ties and a nice set of snips.
Yeah.
To turn off your engine, you just cut the zip tie.
That's it. I mean, we've seen pictures of engines, from customers, and at this point we always say we've seen it all, but we obviously haven't seen it all.
Right.
But sometimes you'll see an engine that was built in 1989 and it's just still going. but you get a picture of it and you're like, whoa, and it's just this rusty mess, and you have no idea what the heck is going on.
You probably couldn't replace anything on it. You just have to run it.
Well, if you replaced it, the whole thing crumbles apart.
Right. Yep. So let's see. Here's one, and this kind of goes back to what we were just talking about. So I replaced something and it didn't fix my problem. What's the conclusion? You sent me a bad part.
Yeah, we get that a lot.
We get that a lot. And that's just that goes back to not thinking in terms of the scientific method. So if you replaced a part and it didn't fix your problem, there's two possibilities. One is the part is bad. But how many new parts are bad?
Not a lot.
Very, very few. So is it more likely that the part is bad or that wasn't the problem?
It's more likely that you're chasing the wrong culprit.
Right. And so I can't tell you the disproportionate amount of people who draw the conclusion that the part we sent—
I want my money back.
Yeah, the part we sent must be bad because it didn't fix their problem, when in fact, it was just not obviously the right part. And sometimes it's okay to just start. It is okay to replace things until you find the problem. That's fine. But don't jump to the conclusion that the part is bad if it didn't fix your problem.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times we've sold, alternators, case in point.
Oh,
we deal a lot with alternators. The charging circuit on a boat is complex. The reason it's complex is because it's not some sort of static design. In other words, if you go on any boat, let's say you line up 100 different boats and you walk the docks in Florida or something, every boat is going to have a different DC power architecture.
They're all laid out a little different.
They're all different. Yep. Okay. And so that makes everyone's world challenging, especially ours trying to remote troubleshoot an issue, because number one, I don't know how your boat is set up. Do you have battery isolators? How many battery banks do you have?
Some switches,
how are you monitoring? Do you have a complex charger, isolator system? Who knows?
Right.
And then somebody will say, well, my alternator died. I put a new alternator on there and it doesn't work.
Right. Or it only lasted a month.
Yeah. And so now you have to be like, okay, we're going to start going through the process of figuring out why it doesn't work. There's obviously something external. And the big challenge is, as a customer buying this part, you just want it to work and go on and live your life and enjoy the boat. The problem is you really have to, what I would call, dig in.
Right.
And that's the challenging part, because a lot of boat owners don't fully understand their architecture and their systems.
And they don't, and sometimes they're busy, maybe, or whatever. They don't want to. Sometimes we feel there's a reluctance to dig in. They're like, I just bought a new alternator, put it on, and it died after a month or two. I just had one of these this week.
What's the question we always ask? Why did you replace the alternator in the first place?
Right.
And that always seems to trigger the customer saying, oh, well, it just died.
Yeah, the old one died. Okay, well, did the old one die because, was there a reason maybe?
Was somebody on the boat doing something they shouldn't have been?
Did you just put in a brand new, I've had this one happen. People are like, oh, I just put, the batteries are brand new. I just like quadrupled my house bank. Well,
yeah,
maybe that's why your alternators are dying, because you're trying to charge, I don't know, 1,000 amp hours of battery with 100 amp.
You're killing the poor thing.
You're killing the poor thing.
Yeah.
Or as the batteries age, they start to suck in, especially AGMs. They can really suck up a charge, and basically through internal heat, just basically take a lot of current, but not really store it very efficiently because they're dying. So as your batteries age, so if you're like, oh, I just bought an alternator, it died after a month. Well, my batteries are only 9 years old. Maybe the problem is the batteries. So if you get an email back from us asking a series of questions when you say, oh, I just bought this from you and it failed. The reason we're asking those questions is because a lot of times, most of the time, it's not a bad part.
It's something external.
It's pretty rare to get, the alternators are all tested before they come with a little sheet.
They come with a sheet.
A little printout. Shows the little chart of it. They put it on a thing, every single one of them. So I doubt it does happen. But it's rare.
It's rare.
It's rare. So we got to look at the conditions in which we've put that alternator. What are we putting that alternator through? Why are the alternators failing? If you just had an alternator fail and you replaced it and it fails again, yeah, might still be under warranty, but
The takeaway from this is you have to be willing to dig in. If you're going to have a boat that has complex systems in it, you have two ways of handling it. Number one, you dig in and learn the systems, right? And that gets you to the point where you can effectively troubleshoot, or you get hire a mechanic or someone who's proficient at doing that.
yeah. Hopefully your
effectively.
mechanic understands this kind of stuff.
Right.
Show him this video. Show your mechanic this video.
Process of elimination. See?
'Cause
See?
a lot of times it's, oh, the mechanic said it's a bad alternator.
Oh, yeah.
We get
then
that
you-
so
then
much.
you play the telephone game.
Yeah. So, all right. Oh yeah, see, I just put that.
Mhm.
So, what are some common problems that need troubleshooting? Loss of power is a big one. And I think there's a good Tony's tips on that one.
Yeah, let's call that like a performance-related issue, right? It's the engine's not performing, again, maybe as it used to in the baseline.
Right.
Okay,
Right. And that's why it's so important to have that baseline.
exactly.
Loss of power. Let's talk about a mechanical engine. We're going to talk about mechanical engine, and then we'll talk about electronic engine. Just real quick. First thoughts. Someone calls and they say, I'm losing power. What are the quick things you would have them?
Well, like we talked about, the low-hanging fruit on a performance-related issue on a mechanical engine is, are we getting full fuel to the engine?
Fuel.
Okay, right, that's a big one. Are we getting full, and that encompasses the solenoid and the full travel and all of that.
Right.
Right. Excuse me. The next thing you want to look at is possibly air.
Air. Exactly what I was thinking. Yeah.
Okay.
So the turbo. Well, first start with the aftercooler.
Aftercooler.
Is the aftercooler clean?
Now, if you just serviced it 2 weeks ago, you could probably just check that one off and be okay with it.
Right.
But if it hasn't been serviced in a couple of years, just pull the hose off and shine a light in there.
Yeah.
Is it caked with oil?
Right.
Right. So we eliminate that. If it is, we clean it and then we monitor
Yeah.
it and we do it again. Another big one we see all the time is water intrusion
In the exhaust,
into the exhaust side of the turbo.
which takes out the turbo.
Right. And so a lot of times customers' inclination is to, when they send us pictures of the turbo, they always send us the intake side of the turbo.
Right, where the air filter.
Right, because they think there's an issue there. No. We're talking about water getting into the turbo on the exhaust side. And what does it do? The titanium blades of the turbo be like, hey, I'll eat all the salt water you want.
Right,
Let's
right.
go. But the cast housing does not like
cast steel or cast iron.
does not like the salt water, and
Right.
it starts to erode. And what happens when it erodes? You can't compress the air.
Right.
All right. This is a turbocharged engine. It
Right.
relies on charge air
Yep.
to make performance.
Yep.
And if you can't compress the air, you're going to be blowing smoke.
Yep. You're going to lose power.
So again, these are all things that you're going to write on when you go to troubleshoot. You're going to write on aftercooler. Let's check that. Okay. Exhaust side of the turbo. Let's check that. Air cleaner. That's probably the first one you want to check, right?
Right.
All those different things.
Fuel system.
And then you go into the fuel. Right.
And if you've gone through your whole fuel system, you know your aftercooler's clean. You've maybe pulled off your exhaust to make sure that your turbo exhaust side isn't all rusty and shot out. Although I would first do the fuel, take it for a run, see if that does it. Then do the aftercooler, take it for a run, see if because it's a little harder to pull off that exhaust elbow.
Then check the exhaust.
Then check the exhaust, and if you're still having problems, and if you've gone through all that and you're still stuck,
then
take a lot of pictures.
you're potentially overpropped.
You could be overpropped. That's another
I
one.
can't tell you how many times we've gone through this troubleshooting process with mechanical engines, ultimately to be led to the conclusion that the engine has been overpropped for basically the majority of its life.
Right.
And an engine like that's been overpropped, that can't reach the governor, and the boat, again, gets heavier over time,
Right.
the engine will wear out.
Right.
And there's no other way to put it. You'll get more heavy blow-by.
Right.
Right? You'll get a dirty engine room if you're not recirculating the crankcase fumes. And the engine will slowly start to get very old and tired, and the performance will degrade over time.
Yeah. And some boats are overpropped to the degree to which they can struggle up onto plane just barely maybe for many years. And then it gets a little harder to get on plane, You add some weight, and eventually it just gets to where you can't even get over the step. And yeah, sometimes the problem is just putting less prop on there, and a lot of times these engines, they won't die. You could put less prop on there and still keep running it for a couple thousand more hours
100%.
if you're willing to deal with the blow-by that you're going to have. You're going to have blow-by, but that's okay.
That's right.
Yeah. So that's just a quick one on, I just wanted to take a quick stab at mechanical engine. Now, lost power on electronic engine. So what are some of the different things? We're still going to start with looking at fuel and our aftercooler, right? Because those are simple, easy things to eliminate.
Yes. A loss of power on an electronic engine is a much different approach because we have access to a lot more information.
Right.
It's a computer controlled engine. We have access and the ability to connect to the computer and not only monitor and analyze information, but also see historical events.
Right.
Right.
And we have we might have fault codes or error codes.
Right. There's a history of what the engine's trying to tell you that it's not happy with.
Right.
So again, you approach that a lot differently. The avenue that you go down is a little bit more well-defined earlier,
right,
as opposed to a mechanical engine. You have a lot more information to go on.
Yeah, and that's one of the big advantages of electronic engines is a lot of times you get a fault code that tells you exactly what's wrong. It's just like modern cars, right?
Sure.
You know, in the old days, you'd have to have your mechanic go in your old pickup truck or whatever, drive it around and hope the problem presents itself, and then they would have to do that troubleshooting. Okay, well, it's sputtering. Maybe it's the points or the ignition or whatever. They'd have to try to troubleshoot it by ear. Now you take your modern car in, and they just plug into it, and they go, "Oh yeah, you just need a new O2 sensor," and or whatever.
The beauty is you don't even need to plug into it. I mean, if you have a digital screen that's connected to the engine, it's going to tell you what's going on.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And if you get a fault, I mean, I can't tell you how many times a guy calls in and says, "I'm getting fault 2256. I don't even know what it is, but it says injector metering rail pressure, this and that." I can automatically think to myself, "Oh, injector metering rail pressure. Okay, it's either a sensor issue or we have a real fuel issue."
Right.
Right. Case in point, like when Tony and I ran out of fuel. Yes, we ran out of fuel. we get the same code as if you were to have a bad lift pump,
right,
or a bad actuator.
Right.
It's because the engine is constantly monitoring the pressure between the low pressure side on the common rail pump and then the very high pressure side on the rail.
Right.
And when it sees a delta that goes beyond a point, it's going to throw that code. There's a lot of different things that can do it, but you automatically know right away there's one of 3 things or 4 things that it could be.
Right.
And it's very simple to attack that.
Yeah. And of those 3 or 4 things, one is the sensor for the high pressure rail pressure.
Yep.
The common rail pressure sensor, I think it's called.
That's exactly what it's called.
And then there's the fuel actuator. And a lot of times people will just order both of those and replace them both.
And probably fix the issue.
And if you have a twin engine, you can swap them. But honestly, for what they cost, it's a little bit of they're not a major pain to change. The actuator's a little bit of a pain to change.
It's a little bit of a pain. But here's also going a step further, the beauty of the faults is that many times the faults will give you specific information about what it's seen, about whether it's a circuit related issue, or a lot of times it'll say data valid,
right,
but still seeing the fault. When I see something that says data valid, I'm not looking at an electrical issue. I'm looking at a physical issue.
Something that caused it.
Something that caused it in the fuel system. Either there's restriction,
right,
or there's no fuel to provide,
right,
something like that. Now, if I see shorted to a high source or shorted to a low source, I'm automatically thinking that maybe someone pulled the connector off, or indeed the fuel actuator, which is what allows fuel into the pump, is failed.
Yeah, and those are kind of I would say not a super high velocity item, but we sell a lot of those, so it's kind of one of those things that is a place. Like when I say injectors aren't spark plugs, don't go replacing your injectors. If you have an electronic engine and you're getting some error code about fuel pressure, common rail pressure, whatever, the actuator and the sensor, they're not that expensive, and they do go bad.
Sometimes the lift pump.
Yeah, and the lift pump too. One of the things I want to say, if you get a fault code, I want you to whip this bad boy out right away.
That bad boy.
Whip out your phone and take some pictures. I can't tell you how many times I had to go, I had something, it said fuel, and then I finally say, well, next time it happens, take a picture of it.
Yeah.
And then what I see the picture, I go, that's not even close to what they said. So take a picture of it or write it down, get a pencil and write down. It's called syntax in programming, right?
It is called syntax, yes.
Making sure every single character and everything is right. Write down letter for letter exactly what the fault code is if you don't have your camera hand.
Well, it'll be a number. So
or a number,
yeah, the beautiful thing.
Well, there's usually a little message and a number.
There's a description and a number, right?
But you only need the number, really?
It depends. I typically only need the number. So there's 2 sets of fault codes on a Cummins engine. Cummins has their own set of fault codes, and if you buy a wiring diagram and you look at the back sheet, it'll show you a matrix of all the codes and what they what they mean.
Okay.
And then for our kits, since we monitor data on J1939, which is an SAE standard,
Right.
SAE has their own list.
Okay.
So those numbers could be different. But again, if a customer calls up and says, I have your SMX system, I'm getting SPN 639 FMI 9, I could look that up in 2 seconds and figure out exactly.
Probably don't even need to look it up.
Not that one. I know that one. But for the Cummins codes, the Cummins codes are also kind of the same. I have a folder on my computer that has basically like 25 fault codes. And it's because these are the ones I generally see all the time.
Yeah.
Fuel related or circuit related, right?
Right.
Even though there's probably over 1,000 different codes, these are the ones we typically see. So
Right.
again, if somebody calls in and says, I have code 2256 or 551, I know automatically the world, the kind
Right.
of the arena we're playing
The
in.
common ones that keep popping up.
Yeah.
So take a picture of that code, or write down the whole thing. For me, I don't know the codes as well as him, so sometimes that little message is enough for me to get you to the right sensor or part.
Yep.
So I just want to talk real briefly about transmission troubleshooting, just some common ones that we get.
Okay.
If all of a sudden your transmission starts going,
Dive off the boat.
that's probably the torsional coupling, right?
It could be, yeah. If you're hearing noise like that, it's most likely.
Make really bad sounds.
And the torsional coupling, by the way, because we do see this a lot. For those that don't know, it's called a damper plate or a torsional coupling. This is what I call an engine fuse, right?
Right.
In other words, it's a rubber element that connects the flywheel to the transmission.
Right.
And the reason they do that is so in case you wrap a rope or do something crazy or hit something, it's not going to destroy both the engine and the transmission.
Right.
It's just going to take the coupling out and decouple them.
Right. Yeah. So now the transmission is no longer receiving torque.
Right. You're just spinning.
Yep. If your transmission won't shift into gear, there's some easy things you can eliminate, like, again, the linkage.
If it's a mechanically shifted transmission, 100%.
And if it's not, the wires or connections or controls, right?
If it's electronically shifted.
Yeah.
So okay, let's dive into this just a little bit here.
Please.
So the linkage on a mechanically shifted transmission is just the same as a mechanical engine with a throttle lever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Except there's a detent. So it's forward,
Yep.
reverse.
A detent just means it kind of clicks into place.
It clicks, right? So when it goes into neutral, typically that's where the detent is. It's very, very important that when you do your baseline, that you make sure that particular lever goes to full, what we call full rack or full position.
Right.
And the reason is because you're literally moving a spool valve and you're spinning it, and that spool valve has a port that allows pressure, fluid
to
transmission fluid to flow through there.
Right.
Now, if you don't open that thing all the way and you run your transmission like that long term, what's going to happen?
You're not getting enough pressure to the clutches.
You're going to get lower pressure, right?
Right.
You're going to slip the clutches, and eventually you're going to destroy your transmission.
Right.
Very important. So, okay, but beyond that, if you're not going into gear, what could be some of the reasons? If you get, let's say it shifts all the way and it's not going into gear,
then you could have potentially something wrong with the shift valve. So, and we sell shift valves on our website, so that's something you can replace. You could have something wrong with the pump, right?
It's possible.
Or you could have bad clutches.
That's more likely.
Yep. So, especially if you slip the gear a lot, or if it's slipped, or if it hasn't been going into gear right. So, yeah, those are the ones I have. Is you want to make sure you have fluid. Right?
Yes.
That's easy. Make sure you have fluid, make sure the linkage is moving, or make sure the wire or controls are getting power. We do sell the little solenoids and the solenoid coils. You can always, if it goes into forward, let's say, but not reverse, you could swap the coils or swap just the coils or the whole thing, and see now it goes in reverse but not forward, then okay.
Bad coil or bad solenoid.
Easy.
Take the solenoid out, clean it, look at it.
Right.
Right. And here's another really important troubleshooting tip. And this is monumental in my view because it's that important. If you have a twin engine boat.
Oh yeah.
Right? You have two engines. One engine isn't performing right. The other engine is.
You're at a great advantage.
And why is that? Why are you at a great advantage?
Because you basically have like a control group and an experimental group and a whole extra set of parts.
Exactly. So as you go through the troubleshooting process, and we tell guys this all the time, especially when you're dealing with, let's say, instrumentation issues or power issues to the engine, and you're looking at the wiring potentially, and the wiring is usually fragmented, right? So it's pretty easy to replace segments,
right?
And I tell guys this all the time. It's like, well, pull this harness off, mark them first, which one where they came from. Always mark them. Blue tape and a Sharpie. Port, starboard. And swap them. And if the issue goes over to the other side,
Yep.
you just figured out what harness is bad, and now you know how to replace it. So having 2 of everything on your boat, and this goes with transmissions as well, is super valuable. On a shift valve, we have a forward and reverse circuit, right? Super important. Just like you said, if you're going into forward but not reverse, swap them and it goes the other way. Now you know which one is bad.
Right.
Super valuable.
So those are some of the common things. Also, just about transmissions in general, there are some people out there like Vaughn that rebuild transmissions. We get a lot of calls for that. We don't rebuild transmissions here. Whether or not it's worth it, it's kind of depends on if you can find somebody that'll work. You need a master mechanic to open up a transmission and go through it, right? And so it's not cheap. So most of the time, most people just kind of replace it, I would say.
I would say when you talk about rebuild versus purchasing new, when you start at the lower transmissions that are less expensive, it is not
Economically.
It's not economical to replace those. But as
Right.
you start getting up to the transmissions, I say in a 300 series, 305, 325.
$8,000 or $10,000, $12,000 transmission. Yeah.
Right. It makes sense to break it apart, buy new clutches, and spend half of what the gear's worth to completely rebuild it. So
Right.
the higher the number of series of transmission, the more economical it
Right.
is to rebuild.
Okay, last thing. I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget. Help us help you. If you've gone through all this and you still have a problem, you haven't been able to figure it out, hopefully you've already done the simple things and you're like, okay, this didn't help. I need to email Corey, Justin, Tony. First thing, lots of pictures. I can't tell you how valuable pictures are.
And how do we want these pictures?
I want them really close so I can see the grain of the metal. No. Far back. Modern phones and cameras take such good pictures, we can zoom way in. So I want you to I know boats are small and tight spaces, but get as far back as you can and snap that picture because we need to see the context. We don't just need to see a wire going to a terminal. We need to see where that wire goes.
Right.
We need to see all the other wires around it. So get as far back as you can. Take pictures from different angles. Take more than you think, probably. If the boat is far away, take a ton of pictures.
Yeah.
You can send us a handful first, and because it is difficult to send a lot of pictures, but take a lot. That way you have them in case Tony or somebody says, "Oh, do you have a picture a little further down?" You won't have to go back to the boat. So take 30, 40 pictures of your problem. Send us the best ones and start there. Explain your problem. We don't need to know all just the facts, man, right?
Just the facts.
We don't need to know it was a nice sunny afternoon and you just cracked a bottle of wine and you were headed out and you just caught some, I don't know, whatever. Just tell us the sequential, important details. That's all we want, and pictures, and we'll do what we can.
Clear and in focus.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always tell customers when we're going through a remote troubleshooting is, put me on the boat with you.
Right.
Right. And that encompasses not only pictures, but sometimes guys are good with the cameras. It's a modern marvel. Okay.
Right.
Take a short, 3-minute video of what you see and what you're hearing.
Right.
Right. And it's pretty easy to move around images and videos these days.
Right.
So leverage the technology, get us on the boat with you, give us a synopsis of what's going on, and that makes life way less frustrating and way less challenging as we go through the troubleshooting process.
And please try some of the simple stuff first. You don't want us here telling you, check the linkage, check your fuel filtration. You don't want us answering those calls over and over. You want us here for you in case you've done all that and you're stuck. And the key to that is to not flood us with, my boat just stopped going. What's the problem?
Yeah, I'm blowing smoke everywhere.
Yeah, because that just
send help.
Eats up so much of our time. So yeah, I think that kind of does it for troubleshooting.
Did we cover everything about troubleshooting? No way.
No way. Not ever.
No.
It's a huge topic, but that's a good start.
We developed a beautiful cloud, the troubleshooting cloud, the do's and don'ts.
Yeah. Okay. I think I have a quick between two sterns. Let's see. What's the short one I have here? Because this is a long episode. So, okay. By the way, we call this segment Between Two Sterns. And if you would like to get a free shirt, email us an idea at boattalk@sbmar.com.
We need to get a couple of sterns here, right on the ends.
Maybe he can superimpose it.
Yeah, stern here, stern there.
Yeah. So, a doctor, a dentist, and a lawyer were in a boat together when a wave came along and washed them all overboard. They were unable to get back to the boat, so they decided the two would hold on to the boat, and the third would swim to shore for help, right? They noticed there were hundreds of sharks between them and land. Without a word, the lawyer took off.
Oh, that poor lawyer.
As he swam, the sharks all moved aside, and the dentist yelled, "It's a miracle." "No," said the doctor. "That's professional courtesy."
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I like that one.
Well, if you're still watching, I'm sorry.
But now you know how to troubleshoot,
now
so
you
it's a
know.
win for all of us.
Thank you for watching. Email us at boattalk@sbmar.com, and we'll be back with Frank.
We'll be back with Frank, episode 9.
Well,
Was that episode?
I stopped putting numbers in because then sometimes we don't do them in the same order.
Yeah,
So.
no, okay.
Episode 8 or 9.
One of those. One of those.
Okay. Okay.
Makeup. No, sorry.
Whenever you're ready. What were you going to say?
I was going to say makeup.
Oh, makeup. Yeah, hair and makeup.
Hair and makeup.
I need hair.
I need makeup.